Now, we've been hearing a lot with everything that's going on in the news about people spreading misinformation online. But do people spreading misinformation commit an offence? Well, yes, they do, and I'll tell you about it very shortly when I can get through all this blooming foliage. Ow, pointy, ow. So anyway, what am I talking about? I'm going to read it because I've got the legislation right here. This is section 179 of the Online Safety Act, and that creates an offence of false communications, which says a person commits a false communications offence if they send a message conveying information that they know to be false, and at the time of sending it, they intend the message to cause non-trivial psychological or physical harm to a likely audience, brackets, i.e. someone who could reasonably be foreseen to encounter the message or its contents, close brackets, and that they have no reasonable excuse for sending the message. Okay, so what does all that mean? Well, let's break it down a little bit. So somebody sends a message. Just check that transmitter's still working. I should have actually wrecked this route a little bit before I attempted to walk here. But you know, I like to do things spontaneously. And it's a really nice spot, this. I do come here quite a lot. Although it's overgrown a bit. So sending a message, that can be electronically, can actually be the old-fashioned way. You can just post it. And you have to know the information is false. Now at the moment, this is a relatively new offence, only sort of came out last year. So a lot of the stuff hasn't been tested. So what do we mean by knowing? In most legal cases where you've got offences where it's knowledge, then you genuinely have to know. It's not enough to be reckless or mistaken. It has to be a deliberate false message. Okay, so that'll be quite an interesting one. What about the likely audience? It's anybody who can be reasonably foreseen to actually receive the message directly. Oh, here's one. If it's like forwarded to them. So you could send a message intending it just to be for, you know, your friends or a particular group. But if somebody, you know, is likely to forward that on to somebody else who then suffers this non-trivial harm, that would actually be enough. Now, what we mean by non-trivial harm, it's not actually defined in the Act. So we don't know at the moment, and like I say, there's no doubt going to be loads of test cases about this. But when it comes to things like GBH and ABH, you can actually do that. You know, psychological harm is recognised there. So it might well be that it's the same test. Now I'm just trying to find you a nice view so you can see these lovely old engine sheds, or wheelhouses I insist on calling them. Ooh, that's quite a drop. I've got to stop doing these, sort of like, because apparently people get vertigo when I'm about to fall off, and my shoelace is undone. So it's got to be non-serious harm. Now, it says intending, but in law, intention's very weird. It doesn't really have your sort of everyday, regular meaning of intention. You can actually intend to do something if it's the last thing you actually want. So it's not a defence to say, well, I didn't want anybody to be hurt by this message. I just wanted to send it out there. But we judge intention if it is, quotes, the logical and foreseeable consequences of your voluntary actions. That all dates back to a case where some people threw a lump of concrete off a bridge to scare a taxi driver during the miners' strike, and actually it hit him and took him out. And they said, well, we never wanted that to happen. And they said, well, it should have been fairly obvious, mate. If you throw lumps of concrete off motorway bridges, people might get hurt. So it won't be a defence to say, I didn't mean, for it to happen. You've also got to have no reasonable excuse for sending the message. So say, for instance, you know, there's you think there's a hurricane warning, and you say, hey, everybody, there's a hurricane coming. And it turns out, actually, you got that wrong. Well, you probably have a reasonable excuse there, because you weren't trying to scare anybody for no reason. You were trying to warn them of a legitimate threat. So that would probably be a defence. Who is anybody exempt from this? Yes, and I think this will cause a bit of controversy because recognised news organisations are exempt. They specifically cannot commit the offence. And who's a recognised news organisation? Well, that's the BBC, they're specifically mentioned, as is some Welsh company that I'm guessing is like, you know, the Welsh equivalent of the BBC, I don't know. But also anybody who's licensed under the Broadcasting Act, so that's all your sort of major news organisations, or anybody who fulfills a set of criteria, and that is producing news content as part of a business, agreeing to follow the Broadcasting Code of Conduct, having a recognised complaints procedure. I mean, you don't actually have to do this for profit, but it has to be set up as a business. Can't be a one-man band. It has to be more than one person responsible for editorial content. It has to have editorial control, all that sort of stuff. The idea is that it's you know, not available just to anybody who, for instance, rambles on YouTube, if you know anybody who does that sort of thing. Also, it cannot be somebody who's a prescribed organisation under the Tour Act, or anybody who's supporting a prescribed organisation. It's a summary-only offence. That means it can only be dealt with in the magistrates' court. So that means the maximum penalty is up to 51 weeks in imprisonment. But I suspect we might be seeing a lot of this because, you know, with all this stuff that's going online at the moment, and people say, well, we're going to clamp down on all this sort of people spreading false information. It'll be interesting to see what happens, because I suspect there's going to be quite a few of these. Ow! So there you go. I mean, like I say, this is an offence. It was intended to replace the old malicious communications offence. So we'll just have to see how it operates. So there you go. As always, hope you found that vaguely useful, vaguely interesting. Where am I today? I am at a place called Unity Wood Mine. Unity Woods are just over there. That's somewhere I like to look at. I'm holding that up. I hope you can see the sign, because I can't, because the screen's a bit windy. Oh, and I've lost my hat. Come back. Oh, come back. How do I do that? Press that. I'll go find the hat in a minute. Oh, there it is. So yeah, anyway, as always, like I said, I've just done all that bit, haven't I? Sorry, I'm just wandering around. I just pulled over. I thought, where can I do this video? And I thought, I know a nice spot on the way home. And this is it. But clearly nobody's been down here for a while. Ironically, we've seen all these pictures of people wandering around with machetes. If anybody does want to pop round here with a machete or a hedge trimmer or something, they'd be more than welcome to. And they can also take out some of these nettles. There's another nice engine shed on the horizon. That's somewhere else I quite like to film, and I'll go over there at some stage, because it's got a huge, massive chimney, which is actually an extension because they put in a massive, dirty, great steam boiler after it had been operating for a while, because they were mining loads of tin, and they said, hey, we need to get this out even quicker and get even richer, lads. So let's make that chimney a bit better, and I'll end on that. I wish I knew how the zoom control works on this camera. I really should watch some of those videos Dan sent me, because Dan got me this camera, and it's a really, really, really good one. And I'll just shoot up through some ragwort again, because people pointed out in the comments that would be a really good topic for a video, because it's sort of illegal.